Hey guys, it's Mr. Bierbauer here with another art lesson. This week we're going to be doing an artist study on Jean-Michel Basquiat. That means we're going to learn a little bit about him, and then we're going to be making some art in the style of one of his artworks. So, if you're working at home, what I'm going to be using today will be construction paper, and then I'm going to use oil pastels, which you probably don't have at home, but if you do, that's awesome. If not, you can definitely use crayons, colored pencils like we usually do. So we're going to start with our artist promise, just like every day. As artists, we will always try our best, respect ourselves, our friends, and our artwork, take responsibility, imagine new things, support each other, and take time to clean up. Our I Can statement today is I can use shapes and colors to make art inspired by Jean-Michel Basquiat. So I'm going to show you how to do this first one, the Tyrannosaurus. But remember, you can always do your own artwork, make it your own, as long as you follow along with some of the basic ideas and things that I'm teaching you. So first of all, let's look at this picture. This picture is called Dos Cabezas, which means two heads, and it was done in 1981. How does this artwork make you feel, and why? To me, it's definitely, it almost looks unfinished, but having already learned about Mr. Basquiat, I know this is a finished artwork. You can see he has a lot of energy that he put into it with lots of lines going everywhere. And he still has a kind of unique style. He actually did a lot of graffiti art, which would mean he would paint out on buildings using spray paint, other materials. And so this kind of captures that style. And then what do you think this work tells us about the artist? So here are two pictures. Again, this is Jean-Michel Basquiat. He was born in 1960 and passed away in 1988 when he was about 27 years old. And the book we're going to read today is called Radiant Child, the story of young artist Jean-Michel Basquiat by Javadka Steptoe. And I took pictures of it just so you could see a little bit more clearly, so you can just follow along with me. Radiant Child, the story of young artist Jean-Michel Basquiat. Somewhere in Brooklyn, between hearts that thump, double Dutch and hopscotch, and salty mouths that slurp sweet ice, a little boy dreams of being a famous artist. And so the person who illustrated this book even did things in the style of a lot of Basquiat's artwork. In his house, you can tell a serious artist dwells, as he sits at a table with pencils scattered everywhere. Jean-Michel draws from morning until night with a serious face amid a storm of papers. He refuses to sleep until he has created a masterpiece. At night, images enchant Jean-Michel's mind, and he wakes from his dreams to add one more line. His drawings are not neat or clean, nor does he color inside the lines. They are sloppy, ugly, and sometimes weird, but somehow still beautiful. His art comes from his mother, Matilda, a Puerto Rican woman who designs and sews, cooks and cleans, and makes his house look like a stylish magazine. But most important, she lies on the floor and draws with Jean-Michel on his father's old work papers. From her, he learns that art is not only in the poetry books she reads to him or in the theaters and museums they visit. Art is the street games of little children. In our style and the words that we speak, it is how the messy patchwork of the city creates new meaning for ordinary things. While visiting the museum, they look at his favorite works of art. Reading the story behind each artist, reading the story behind each work, this is how Jean-Michel learns what it means to be a famous artist. And this picture they're looking at is actually a famous piece of artwork done by Pablo Picasso. Back at home, he creates art on the floor as his father Gerard plays jazz records. Mama Matilda cooks arroz con pollo and calls Jean-Michel mi amor, my love. The energy and life of the city can be felt in each line of his drawings. As time goes by, Jean-Michel learns that art has a healing power. After a car accident, he is scared and confused. Matilda gives him a book to ease his fears. It is filled with pictures of bones, skulls, and other body parts. Jean-Michel draws from it until he knows it all by heart. He is no longer afraid. Back at home, Jean-Michel's body heals, but his heart breaks. His mother's mind is not well, and the family breaks. She no longer lies on the floor and draws with Jean-Michel, but sits by the window singing only to birds. Jean-Michel is confused and filled with a terrible blues when Mathilde can no longer live at home. He tries drawing the terrible out of his blues, but things are not the same. As Jean-Michel grows older, he visits his mother when he can, always bringing his artwork to show, telling her that one day it will be in a museum. When I am a famous artist. A teenager now, Jean-Michel decides, Papa, I will be very, very famous one day. With a sly look, a twinkle in his eye, Jean-Michel leaves Brooklyn for New York City, the Lower East Side, a concrete jungle where only the tough survive. During the day, dressed in a green jumpsuit splattered with paint, Jean-Michel stays with friends, sleeping on couches and floors, leaving a barrage of collages and poem-filled papers everywhere he goes. At night, Jean-Michel spray paints the walls downtown with poems and drawings that catch the eye of artists, gallery goers, and passers-by. Under his art, he signs the name Samo instead of Jean-Michel. Everyone wants to know, who is Samo? Samo moves from street corners to art gallery walls with powerful color composition and line, collaging and painting on anything he can find. His art is still not... At night, Jean-Michel spray paints the walls downtown with poems and drawings that catch the eye of artists, gallery goers, and passers-by. Under his art, he signs the name Samo instead of Jean-Michel. Everyone wants to know, who is Samo? Samo moves from street corners to art gallery walls with powerful color composition and line, collaging and painting on anything he can find. His art is still not neat or clean and definitely not inside the lines, but somehow still beautiful. With his magical charm, Jean-Michel draws a crowd, but when it's time to work, he prefers to be alone, with the radio and TV on full blast. Now in expensive suits splattered with paint, he flips through stacks of magazines and open books, and paints into the night, and sometimes for days at a time, while sounds and images jump into his head. Jean-Michel, an artist among artists, never doubts one line, creating from a soundtrack that is all his own. People describe him as radiant, wild, a genius child, but in his heart he is king, so he draws crowns for himself and others he admires. A grown man now, with the art world in his hands, Jean-Michel still visits his mother when he can. And at his most important shows, above all the critics, fans, and artists he admires, the place of honor is his mother's, a queen on a throne. He is now a famous artist. All right, y'all. I hope you enjoyed that book. I thought it was really helpful for kind of learning about how Jean-Michel Basquiat grew up and looking at sort of how he started approaching his artwork. Now, remember, in the book, it talked specifically about crowns. And so I pulled out, this is a selection of several of his artworks that really show his crowns. So this is Red Kings from 1981, Pez Dispenser from 1984, Mecca from 1982. And this one's really interesting, I thought, because in 2013, Jay-Z, the rapper, actually bought that painting for $4.5 million. This one is Trumpet and crowns down here. And then there's a picture of a Basquiat in the middle there. You can see he also has another sort of crown there. And remember, the crowns he used to represent many things, sometimes power or strength. And then he would also use it as a sign of respect. He would give crowns to other people in his artwork or put it on himself. So here's just a crown here. So today, when we do our artwork, we're going to make sure two things. We're going to draw in his style, and we're going to make sure we put a big crown in there. Hey everybody, today we're going to be doing a dinosaur drawing in the style of Jean-Michel Basquiat. So I'm going to be using something different today. I have some oil pastels. You can use whatever coloring materials you have, but this is going to be a little bit specific about oil pastels. So first of all, you can see oil pastels get dirty really easily. So I also have some baby wipes, and I have covered my surface with something too to make sure that I don't get oil pastel everywhere. So I'm going to go ahead and try to wipe off some of these pastels. They've been in the art room for a while, so you can see some of them, especially the lighter colors, get real dirty. So I'm going to try to clean them off a little bit right now, and then I probably will keep on wiping them off kind of throughout. So if you have your oil pastels, then you probably will need a baby wipe, or you can also always kind of color it on a piece of paper or a paper towel, whatever you have, to kind of get some of that dirt off. So when you're doing oil pastels, it's really important to work from light to dark, because you can always put a dark thing on top of something light, but a lot of them, it's hard for you to show something light on top of dark. So I'm going to actually use this yellow to kind of trace a simple outline for my dinosaur. So I'm going to start with a really simple body shape, just kind of almost a rectangle, a little bit curvy, kind of like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and do a head, and my head is just going to keep going up, kind of like this. I'm going to go down, go ahead and do part of the face, and see, I've got two lines there. That's fine. It's going to get covered up, and then I'm going to do kind of a bottom jaw like this. And I know a lot of people last week and the week before, when we were doing our line drawings, did enjoy those dinosaurs there. So that's one reason I wanted to do this week. Now I'm going to have to make my crown a little bit smaller because I didn't plan out quite as well. That's okay. So I'm going to do just a line. It's going to be a really simple crown, just 3 points. 1, 2, and 3. So see, that one will be smaller. This one was a lot bigger. That's okay. We're going to do some kind of a triangle going out for a tail. And he did really simple legs and feet. And remember, yours don't have to look like mine. This is just an example. I'm doing it in his style. You can do it in his style. You can do it in your style. And then some little arms. 1 and 2. All right, so there is the basic thing. We could go ahead if we want and put some triangles on his back here. And they can go all the way down if you want. They can kind of run out as you get down here. Okay, so now we got to think about which areas are going to be light colors. So I'm going to use my pastel, and when you put this on, it's going to be a little bit like crayon, but you can layer it more than you can layer crayon. So you'll see in a minute when I start adding some other colors here, it layers really well. You just want to make sure you get a nice even coverage. Let's see, I'll do these. The body itself I'm going to make black, so I'm going to just do these little spines. And you can see, sometimes you'll see the paper through it, so you may have to go back over. I used a darker color paper because that really will make the pastels pop out more. It means they'll look brighter. You'll be able to see them better, but again, we're using whatever materials you have at home. Okay, so I got all that. Let's see. He did actually go ahead and put like a cool, kind of almost a ring around the front here, kind of like he was tracing it. And we could do this afterwards, or I'm going to go ahead and do it now, just so I don't forget, and so it'll make the other colors pop more. Do a little bit there too. And let's see, he's got some cool eyes. So he's got like oval shaped sideways eyes here. So I'm gonna do a big one like that with my red, and another big one. And then try to give it a little outline. You see, I should have put my yellow down first there. So I'm gonna just put a little white there, and that will do the same kind of thing. Also, really cool, if you add white to most colors, it will make them brighter. So if I want my crown to be super bright, I'm gonna go ahead and add some white here. So white will make things brighter. There we go. Okay, and we'll go on and do some teeth too. So he just kind of has up and down teeth sort of going right all along here. And then you can go in with red in between and kind of pop them out some. See, it looks really good when you layer and put things right beside each other like that. So you can see when I put the white down first, it stays really bright. If I put white on top of red, it makes kind of a pink. If you keep layering over and over and over, it will start looking more white, but you may have to put a lot of layers if you're doing oil pastel. Okay, now I want to get, he has sort of a big kind of ovally sort of square, overly rectangle kind of shape on his side here. And I'm going to do that with the red first, because again, if I did black first and then did red on top, it would not show up as well. You can see I tried to do that here, and even with mixing some white in, it still didn't show up great. So I'm going to do that. He's got a couple stripes. Well, one of these, they're both white, so they'll show up okay. So now I'm going to go in, I'm going to start doing my black. And you can see I'm just going right over the yellow from my sketch. And that is okay because I don't want all that yellow showing up. The nice thing about the oil pastels is they go on really thick. You don't have to push as hard as you do with a crayon to get really, really bright colors. And I know in the past couple weeks I've seen some people getting super bright colors with their crayons by pushing really hard, and we've even had some crayons break because of that. And you know what, that's okay because we can still use broken crayons, but check out how thick and dark that oil pastel looks. Okay, I'm gonna have to be a little bit careful up here. Oh, sorry, I bumped my camera, guys. And go in between these eyes a little. And see how the black is just covering everything. That's why we had to wait until last. I did one with where I did the black first. And you can see some of the other colors did not show up as good. Just wanted to experiment and see how that would work. But this is working so much better. Since a lot of his work was graffiti, I mean, usually like spray paint or painting on walls. Sometimes you would see areas that were not super neat. You might see part of the background color showing through. And so if we got some of that, we can even leave some of that on purpose. And then, oh, we should definitely outline this crown because when you outline with pastels, it makes things show up, pop out even more. You'll notice if you're using oil pastels, your hands are going to get a little bit dirty too, so make sure that you're keeping them clean before you go touching other things. I'm even going to go over this with the darker red a little. And you can see as I'm doing that, some of that black is blending in some, and that's okay. If I wanted to blend some of that in on purpose, I could even use my finger and kind of move the pastel around a little bit. The thicker your pastel is on your paper, the easier it is going to be to blend around like that. That is my dinosaur in the style of Jean-Michel Basquiat. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope that was fun for y'all. Make sure we turn that in on canvas so I can see it, and I cannot wait to see what you guys do.